Hello there, it's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Bee. So today what I'm doing is I'm making two babies' kilts, matching kilts for two sisters, and one is a week old and the other one is 15 months old. So I've printed off their instructions for sizing off Mothercare, which is a big UK retailer, and I've also printed off the sizes from a wool website. Now the reason I've done this is because anyone that's bought baby clothes will know that the measurements are sort of a bit skew with. So I'm kind of going for the mean between the two. Now I've got the fabric here, very lightweight, ideal for this. You wouldn't want it proper heavy fabric. And rather than doing a fitted waistband at the back, I'm going to put a little elastic just at the top there. So I'll be making the whole quilt the size of the hips according to these measurements. Now, so I know the waist measurement, I've worked that out. I've got a scrip of paper here. Now basically the kilt goes folded over the front, so they're like that. So this part I'm going to need ×2, but the actual pleats are like this. So for the rest of the waist I'm going to need ×3. Now I did my calculations off camera because it makes life a bit easier. I've got a hip the size of 54 because we're going for the waist, not the waist, we're going for the hip, and I need probably a good 9 centimetres for the front panel, and then I need the rest of the waistband to be ×3. So I've worked it out at 138 centimetres, and that works out at 50 inches. Should we call it 50 inches? It doesn't actually. Well, let's do it properly if we're going to do it. 138 and 53 inches. Now the reason I did it in centimetres this time rather than inches is because I'm going to make the pleats 1 centimetre. Just makes life easier, and I can do that by putting a piece of paper down here, and then I can measure off how much I need. So I need a gap of 2 centimetres and then a fold of 1 centimetre, which makes perfect sense to me because this is the waistband I've already cut. I'm going to be doing that. So if I have one sewn there, I know that I can then pull it across the 2, and then I can have another one there so it'll lie flat. So I need these 3 lines. Okay, so cutting. I've got my material and I've folded it up very carefully. Now I'm going to use the selvage as the edging for my kilt, which is normal. And I need it a good knee length, and I am going to sew the waistband on separately. So I'm just tidying this up. I thought I'd got it already. So I'm going to go about there, and then I've got a little bit of a hem for it as well. Yeah? Now I like sewing kilts. It's a bit time consuming, and of course I do it on the sewing machine. I'm such a rebel. So I've got my selvage here, and on this side you can see a couple of stitches. On the other side it's not so pronounced. So I'm going to use this as the front seam. So I need the waistband, the front of the kilt, and I have that naked, and then I am literally just going to start puckers. Okay. Now it's your sewing machine, so if you want to mark on it with a pen, you can do. There's nothing to stop you. I'm going to use these little etchy lines because I work quite well with that. But of course, there's all sorts of other things you can do. You can put a post-it note, or you can roll a hair tie along the end. I've done that before. So I've done one pleat, and from the front it'll look like that. It'll need ironing in, and then I can line up ready for my next pleat. So I need the space of 2, and I'm choosing a line on the design and I'm sewing to that line. It's a bit of a cheat, and I suppose if I was doing it with a non-tartan material, because you can have kilts that are just like plain black or something, then what I'd do is I'd mark a line with of pins. Okay, so I've got a bit of sewing to do, and I'll be right back with you. Hiya, so this is what we're left with. Now I'm going to come back and do all this when we've finished, but there are a lot of threads that need trimming. So what we have out of our 138cm strip is we have now reduced it down to this size, okay, which is great. Now the salvage here goes on the front, and this end, which is just scraggly because we had to cut it to size, is going to go under the scrap under there. So we're going to go like that. Now before we sew on the waistband, we just have to tidy this up. Now really it depends on the cloth, okay. You know, this is very soft, it's almost like brushed cotton, so I'm going to try and do it without pins. I should be okay because of it's not too bad, but if you have a difficult cloth, then obviously pin, an iron sometimes helps, and it just really depends. But this isn't too bad. So that's tidy now, that's good. So what I need to do is I need to sew the waistband on. I need to place this bit behind the front bit, like that, like so, and then the waistband on the rest of it. Now I need a piece of elastic in the waist. Now on both of the measurements for the babies, it basically appears that babies are quite androgynous. They don't really have a waist that goes in. So what I'm going to do is, I know that the hip measurement is 56 and the waist measurement is 52, so I don't have to reduce it by much. So I need to sort of encompass the pleats, and I'm going to stretch it out quite lightly so that I know that I've got enough, and then I'm going to cut it. Ooh. I couldn't find my thick stuff, so I've got thin stuff as well. Alright, so that's that. That's my to-go piece. I'm going to put that out of the way, and I've measured my waistband so that it is the size of the hips, because we're making it the size of the hips to get over the hips, and then we're reducing it down to the size with elastic. Okay, so I've got it the wrong way round, and I've got this the wrong way round. So it's right side out, right side out. I'm going to ignore the front panels, and I'm going to just start sewing from the end of the front panels. Now the reason I'm doing this is so that I can concentrate on the elastic. I can get it all in position, and then I can place the front panels afterwards. So it is literally scruffy bit end to scruffy bit, and I'm going to make sure all my pleats go the same way. And there's a lot to concentrate on, even, you know, so we're quite happy just to do this for now. Now that I've started the sewing machine, so I've got a few stitches in, I'm going to place my elastic in. I'm going to get on my elastic, and there's a good few stitches. Now you would think that I would find it easier to push my pleats down flat, but I actually find my pleats are easier the other way. So your pleats do need to all be the same way. So I've got my elastic on stretch, I have my waistband placed over my pleats, and every single pleat I'm doing, I'm stopping the machine and I'm making sure that they're flat. I suppose with me it's because if I did it, pushed the pleats flat rather than pushed them down, I would just assume, and so it's actually better for me to check. So just ask the machine to slow quite slowly here. And now that I've come off the pleats, what I'm left with is these ends. Now I have to sew, get these all lined up, this bit. So I'm now going to join the rest of the circle together. And it's really up to you where you start. I can put it back in the machine. There we are. And then I can tuck the front panel that goes behind. Obviously, because we're now inside out, I have to make sure that this is now on the inside. So it goes above the actual edge with the salvage. Okay, so a little bit of sewing. Obviously I'm going to give myself hem allowance, and I do have this part of the waistband to come forward. So I think I might have come off there whilst I was talking. Best to sort it out straight away. Yes, if I do make a mistake when I'm sewing, I will always try and own up to it, because I think that's fair. Yeah, obviously I have other things to concentrate on when I'm filming. Okay, so coming up to the end of my elastic and coming on to the second piece of waistband, and I can just fold that round literally, so it's kind of gone up in bunny ears. But I'll bring it to the camera and let you have a better look in a moment. Just want to make sure that everything's as straight as possible, and because it's a skirt I can literally lift it up. So I've just literally sewn back on to the elastic, and what I should have is a kilt with the tucked under bit tucked under, my pleats all going the same way, and my elastic pulling in the bum. Yeah. Now what I need to do is, keeping it the same way round, I need to pull this waistband over the top. So, and then I can literally sew all the way round. If it wants to go over the top, that is. Lovely. Now, yes, thick elastic versus thin elastic. Thick elastic will give you structure, but thin elastic is easier to sew. So if you want a structured waistband, then thick elastic's the way to go. So what I'm doing now is I'm literally pulling over the waistband and folding over and trying to get as much of this floofy stuff inside. And what I don't want to do is stretch the waistband, the top bit, but I want to stretch the bottom so that I can keep my pleats looking straight. And this is an art and experience. So if we were I won't just do it because it's not really fair, is it? You don't want to see how well or badly I sew. What I'm doing is folding over this waistband and then folding over again, and then I am going to sew. Now the reason I didn't use pins is because I'm going to sew, but at the same time I'm going to stretch my elastic, so it won't really work with pins, but one stitch at a time. So let's come round this way. I do need to join the waistband together, which is easy enough, isn't it? It's a couple of stitches, and it might even be best to do it by hand. So, got it in the machine. And the way I'm going to tell that I'm not twisting my waistband is I'm going to use the pattern on the fabric and judge that it's still horizontal, it's going off at that direction. And I'll soon be able to tell if I'm if I'm pulling the waistband. So all I need to do is, with a sweep of my fingers, is pull in those floofy bits. And of course I'll go over, I still need to do the back anyway. I'll go over that with a thread picker. So I'm now on the pleaty bit, and I'm now on the bit that needs pulling. I'm now on the gather. So yeah, one hand hold it in place and one hand stretch. And it doesn't matter if you do miss the gathers, you know, that's not, sorry, it doesn't miss if you do miss these floofy bits. So, there we go. I know it seems like I'm at war with this sewing machine, but we are coming to the end now. Now when we come to the end of the elastic, we do need to just, I'm going to say, build the waistband size on its own. Because we'll be using the elastic as a sort of structural support. We can't go any deeper than the elastic, so we can sort of pull against it. But when we're actually doing the waistband and there's no elastic, we've still got to make sure that it's the right size. Now what I'm doing is just making sure it's straight, and if I need to put in a bit of puckering just to get it correct, then I will do. And if I need to take it out and have a little look-see and a little go, then I will do as well. It's far better to get it right than it is to unpick. So there we go. Yeah, especially when you're doing little things as well, it does feel like you're doing one stitch at a time. So I'm just coming up to the beginning of the elastic, and I'm just folding over the end of the waistband, so that that's all done. In fact, yes, that is a bit tricky. So what I'm left with is my waistband, and I have this fold here which I've already sewn in, and I'm going to fold that over so that's lying flat, and then I'm going to hem it all as well. So then I'm going to fold those in. Yeah? Yeah. So, lovely. Let's get this done. Yeah, this, and you might notice that it is getting a bit thick because we've got a couple of layers. We've got 2 layers now, and then we've got 4 layers of waistband. So I've held that together with a pin just so I can get it in the sewing machine. Now that I'm in the sewing machine, I can just sew it. Okay, finished. I've got to hem the bottom, and I do need to iron it, but I'm not going to iron that on camera. I'm going to put it through the washing machine now, or when I've finished doing the ends. So turn it inside out again, and obviously we still need to do all these loose ends, and we know that we can do it because we did the small bit, but it is going to be a lot more difficult because with the small bit you can kind of hold it in one go. So I'm going to fold it over once, fold it over twice, and I'm going to pick this turquoise line and I'm going to fold it up so that it's just above this white line. And every time I've got a line going down, I'm going to check that they're in line. Now, this isn't OCD pattern matching. This is the feet under the sewing machine will take the cloth faster than the top, so I don't want to intentionally pull it out so that it just looks wonky. So folding it over, I've got my turquoise line, and I'm just making sure that my lines go the right way. Yeah, it's one of the complaints I've got about this machine. It's very lightweight. And when I said it to sort of the family, they were like, what, you know, because I take the sewing machine downstairs and watch telly as well and things like that, and take it round friends' houses that, you know, it's the one that gets lent. And but the thing is, I do pull it, and I'm not particularly pulling it quite strong. Maybe that I'm a bit spoilt. Okay, so I am coming to the end. I know it's quite slow, and it's just that I'm only sewing that much each time, but I find it much quicker. I'm not very good with pins. For a sew like this, if I was to pin this hem, I would put pins in between my nails, my needle, and my nails and my fingers. I know I would. And the reason that we do a seam like this, going back to it, is because we do want it to have some weight. Because of, obviously, a kilt kicks up, you know, and a baby won't mind, but we do want to keep it lying flat. Okay, and we're going to, when I do the end, I've got the corner here, I'm going to fold it diagonally, and then I'm going to fold it once, twice, and this means that I've got a very nice, neat tuck in, and I can sew to the end. I know. I don't know, I used to sit here and work out how many layers of thread fabric we were going through, but I don't do it anymore. So I've got a very nice neat little end when I've plucked all my ends. So yes, I know. Obviously it will look better ironed, and yeah, there we are. We have one kilt. Let's get it round the right way. One kilt. And I'm not going to attempt to use any like a big safety pin, because I do have a safety pin, but it's either going to be a nappy safety pin, you know, that sort of size, which I think might look a bit silly, but yeah, I know. Half an hour of chopping threads, and there we have a little kilt for a little girl. Now, before I take the thumbnail pictures, what I'll do is I'll get it ironed and everything, and washed, so that we can see it in all its glory. Alright, thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. My name's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Bee. Thank you.